All right, welcome to week 3 online live learning session. Thank you for understanding I had to cancel last week. I've been having some things going on outside in my life, so I had to cancel last week. But you guys have all been really great about emailing me if you have questions, and I know that I'm responding back. So in today's session, what I thought I would do is I just picked a few topics from the chapter practice this week. Which specifically I want to focus on the pen tool and how to use that, because we don't spend a lot of time on that in the level 1 class. And then just talk a little bit about resampling, and then I can actually run through the chapter 2 tutorial, or I can just answer questions. So before I get started, John is here today. Do you have any questions for me, John? Not yet. Okay, cool. All right. Oh, he's still typing a message. Let's see what he says. Nothing? Okay. Maybe. I'm waiting for John to finish typing. Okay. I'm going to pull up my notes real quick. I was going to say I've enjoyed the videos you posted. Oh, yay, that's awesome. Well, a lot of the videos, I know I did the one 2 weeks ago, and then you'll see there are a lot of videos in this course. YouTube is the best place to find anything, really. I think nobody would disagree with that. So I just try to pick and choose videos that are hopefully short enough that will enhance whatever tool or technique or whatever we're talking about that week. So let's see. I learned a lot from them. Yay, that's awesome. Cool. All right, well, this week, did you already complete the chapter 2 practice, John? Have you completed it yet? The mask one, yes. Okay. All right, well, I just want to focus a little bit on the pen tool, just show you how I use the pen tool, and how I manipulate paths. I actually really like the pen tool, but it does take a lot of practice in terms of using it. So, John, I know you've been using Photoshop for a long time, so you're probably totally a whiz and totally comfortable using it. Hopefully, if any of you out there in advanced Photoshop land are watching this, maybe you'll pick up a few other techniques. Have you used the resampling option before with images, John? Yes. Can you give me an example of how you've used it? Or is that too long of an example? Waiting for him to typing. That was probably a long question. Turning on and off depending on the situation. So I just wanted to make a comment about sampling. You actually get to do it you did it in the first chapter, and you're going to do it in this one. And really what that means is when you're resampling an image, you're either decreasing or increasing the number of pixels in an image. You could take a low resolution image and increase the number of pixels so that you have more detail in the file, and then it makes it easier to work with the tools. Ideally, you don't want to do that. You don't want to take a 72 pixel image and up it to 300. What you want to do is you want to take your pictures and start with the size that you expect to work with. However, it is a super handy tool, lets you do some different things. The way I use it, my girlfriend had a picture that she wanted me to edit a little bit, and so all she had was just a little web version of herself. So I just resampled it, increased the number of pixels. I was able to edit it a little bit and give her a better version of the picture. So and the final image was something that was very small, so you weren't going to see, there wasn't a lot of loss of detail there. In print, let's see what John says. Okay, in print, it's useful because you get low-res 72 DPI files. You may want to print, and the printer doesn't want them at 72, so they need to be 300, but you can't just blow them up too big or they'll be blurred. Exactly, same exact reason. So it's a way to add more pixels to the image. So I always find that's really neat. If you took the level 1 class from me, you're really brand new to Photoshop, I think you're going to find a lot of really cool things that expand your knowledge. I know, John, you're super experienced with Photoshop, so I'm hoping that you get to push yourself, and I'm super excited to see what all of you create. And I know, John, I really liked your kind of groovy meme, and so I think there's going to be some assignments for you coming up that you're going to be excited to really stretch your artistic abilities. he's typing. Let's see. Oh, maybe. Okay. All right. I'm going to go back and forth. I have two monitors going on here, but I have a lot of different windows open. So I'm going to keep checking back. John, I know you're just listening and typing, so I'll come back and check, excuse me, the chat window. I'm going to go ahead and open up the textbook, but you've been staring at this picture of the car. This is from the Mercedes from the Chapter 2 practice. Here is actually what the final image looks like. You can see here are all the layers that I have. Oh, hello. You can't see it, John, because I haven't shared my screen. Let me go ahead and share my screen with them over here in the conferencing tools. Let me go ahead and do that real quick. My apologies. Okay. I think, so I'm sure I will be there. Okay. All right, John, can you see my Photoshop in the conferencing window? Yes. Okay, perfect. All right. So, but if you're watching this off of YouTube, you've just been staring at the same screen the whole time. So, I started, I brought the image to a certain point in the assignment. I'm actually starting on page 112 for what I'm trying to do in this little OLL session. And so that's kind of what I'm working on. I just want to talk about the pen tool and creating some paths. So I'm going to kind of follow the assignment a little bit. But here is what the final product should look like. You'll see that there's a lot of layers. They're all named. You actually create 3 clipping masks, which is something we've done in the level 1 class where you take these pictures and you clip it to this shape. You get to apply a style. We didn't do that in the last class. So to this vector shape here that you create, this rectangle, and then you're going to cut out the tire, or excuse me, you're going to cut out the car. You're going to make a path. You're going to make a vector mask. So we're masking out the background. So you just see the car. And I think the coolest thing actually, and I'm going to go ahead and press Alt and click the eyeball. And if you didn't know, that hides all the layers except for the last layer. Of course, why can't I see this layer? That is very interesting. That's there. Why is this one not here? Huh. That is very interesting. Why are we not able to see? Oh, I know exactly why. I bet because it's linked. Let's see. All right, I think it's because you have to have a linked file. Maybe it didn't bring up well, it did bring up this one though. I wonder why I don't see that one. All right, well, we'll go ahead and pull the tires picture in and do a little filter, but you can kind of see it here in the background where maybe it's just not rendering on my computer, I'm not sure, but where you got to use the liquify filter. I think that's a super cool filter where it kind of lets you drag around in the background, and you did that in one of the last chapters, if I remember, in the level 1 class. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and come over here, and I am starting at page 112, and what it wants you to do is it wants you to create a vector mask of this car, but actually I should really go back a page because I need to actually draw the path. So again, I'm already started on the wrong page. I actually want to start on page 101, my apologies. So we're starting on page 101 where I'm actually going to create an outline of the car. Now they suggest you work at 100% view, and you can do that. I'm going to go ahead and hide this panel here, and if I hold the space bar down, remember I can activate the hand tool and I can move around my image. If I double click the hand tool, I can actually grab my car. I'm going to leave it out of this view, just it'll make it a little bit easier for me in terms of demonstration purposes. But what they want us to do is they want us to choose the freeform pen tool. So that is right here, right? And so that's just going to go ahead and allow us to literally draw around the car, and it's going to set all the anchor points. Remember, the pen tool allows you to create vector shapes, and every vector curve has an anchor point and 2 direction lines, and that allows you to adjust the curve. They're called Bezier curves. Don't ever think that you need to draw at this stage of the game. I don't expect perfection. I expect you to draw the shape and then go in and modify it. That's what I really like about this particular exercise is they have you kind of draw an imperfect outline, and then you're going to come through and you can practice using the direct select and add and delete anchor points. All right, so in the freeform pen tool, in the options bar, we're going to go ahead and choose path. And then in the path operations menu, we want to do combine shapes. So what's really nice about the newer versions of Photoshop is that I could draw a path and then I can draw a second path. And if they overlap, I can combine them. I can merge them, and you're going to do that in this assignment. You could also draw a shape and then draw another shape within it and do subtract. You do that in this assignment. So that's really nice. You don't have to, you can have one selection or path, and you can continue to add and create intersects and do all kinds of really cool things. And if you haven't figured it out by now, you should see there's a lot of extra stuff in the textbook, which goes over not just the particular tool you're working on, but maybe every option that comes with that tool. So definitely take some time to check that out. You know, it's a really good resource. I really like the book. I've turned to it several times to look up how to do things, you know, because I don't remember everything. All right, so we're going to go ahead and choose combine shapes. And then they want us to check the magnetic option. So we're going to make sure that what that does is it's going to make sure that it finds this kind of hard edge and it just really attaches itself to the outline of the car. And then we want to make sure that we can actually see the path, like it pops out nice. So that's what this set additional options is letting us do. So they want us to set this to 2 pixels, and they want it to be red, and 2, 15, 10, and 25. All right, so this is just going to make it easy for us to see the path when we actually create it. And then they want us to go ahead and click and drag. So I should be zoomed in. It'd be better if I were zoomed in, and I could use the hand tool to do that, but I'm just going to kind of make it messy so it's a little bit easier for me to show how to fix it. So I'm going to click right here, and then I'm just going to start dragging, and you can see it's not totally perfect. In fact, I'm missing part of it, and that's okay because I can come back in and I can fix it. Now I'm going to go ahead and click right here. I like to set an anchor point wherever I'm kind of really turning around a corner. All right, and I'm going to maybe come click in here, click right there. And you can see it's making some weird jaggies. Whoops, I don't want the tire. So we're going to do that. And the next part, coming along, whoops. And that's totally okay. It's totally okay that's not perfect because I can come in and I can use, oh, it doesn't like that. So we'll add another anchor point. And then wherever you see the little circle pop up, the little O, click, and that means that the path has been completed. Looks pretty good, actually. Thanks. Yeah, not too bad. Steady hand. And I'm using a mouse. Like a stylus would be so much better if I had a stylus at this point. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to start right over here, right? And I'm going to use my hand tool. And now I want to come in close, and I can see, wow, that looks really weird. I'm like missing this part down here, and you know, it didn't quite get the edge, but that is okay. Let's see what the book tells you to do. Yep, we got that. Okay, so now they want us to, okay, so we should probably save the path. That's right. So we have a layers, and then because we have a path, we have a work path. So they actually want us to save it. And so I can do that by going to the options menu, clicking save path. Because if I don't save it at this point, if I go start to do something else, that path will disappear, right? So if you draw, you want to save it. And then once you've saved it, you can manipulate it. You can turn it into a selection. You can do all kinds of things with it. So we want to call this, what do they want us to call it? Yep, it throws it out. That is correct. That's what John said. Car outline. Good deal. There it is. Car outline. Okay, so I'm going to hide that. And then I'm now at page 105 in the book. I know you guys can't see it in the window that I'm looking at, but what's really nice at this point is it'll take, it's showing you how the pen tool works. If you don't remember from the first class when you took it, if you took it from me last spring, you might really be like, oh my God, I can't remember how to use a pen tool. You can read through the book. It's really nice. It really kind of explains how it works. But you know, like anything, practice, practice, practice. All right. All right. So they want us to go, whoops. They want us to click on the paths tool. So you can see the path is selected. If I click anywhere in this blank area of the paths panel, it actually deselects the path. I can save the file. So I'm just going to save it. Make sure the view percentage is 100. I actually have it at 200. I like 200. Choose the pen tool. So Oh, they're having us add to it this time. I forgot. I'm jumping ahead of myself. My bad. I'm going to come down here because I know this is what they want us to do. They actually want us to do the tire. I'm going to Alt, zoom out, click a little bit, so I am at the 100. All right. Hand tool, there we go. All right, so actually what they're going to do is they're going to have us add the tires to the car. I forgot, I'm jumping ahead. All right, so I'm going to select the pen tool again. In the path panel, click the car outline, so that activates the path. It's okay that it's not perfect. In the options bar, choose path. We have path. And in the path operations, we're going to choose combine shapes. That's already checked because that was the last one we did. Then click the pen tool in the tools panel to hide the anchor points. So actually, if we had seen the anchor points, if I click the pen tool now, I would all those anchor points would go away, just making it easier to see what's happening. And so then they want us to draw. Now, I actually like using the pen tool. I don't use the freeform a lot. And so I'm going to draw the shape of the tire and add to it. I'm going to explain how I do it. So I'm going to click my first point right here. Okay. And I'm not going to drag or anything. I'm just setting that first point. And so what I like to do is I like to look for where, there's a slight curve here, right? So I'm going to kind of, just click, hold, and drag. That's dragging the anchor points, right? Depending on how I drag determines the shape of that curve. And so I just want a slight curve to that. So I'm just going to kind of butt that up against it. And then I let go. Now I'm going to come click over here. It's pretty much a straight line, but you can see I'm getting that curve, okay? So if I wanted it to be a straight line, the reason it's curving is because I added a curve up here, right? Control Z. So instead what I can do is I can hold down the Alt key, right? And if I click on that anchor point, that gets rid of the direction line. So now the next time I click, I don't get that curve, or I can adjust that curve the way I want to adjust it. Now I still have my mouse pressed down. I can hold the Alt key and just drag in the direction point if I want, and I can get rid of that direction. Click, hold, and drag. Click, hold, and drag, right? Kind of getting that tire. Click, hold, and drag. Now I'm just popping it out a little bit. And I don't care what this looks like here because I'm just going to connect these two. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this dot. You see the circle, and I've made another path. Okay, so I've already added one tire. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make another path. So I'm going to go ahead and, sorry, I'm going between windows. So there we go. So I'm going to come back over here to Photoshop. I'm going to hold my space bar down, right? I'm going to go ahead and use the pen tool. I'm going to start again. Click. I'm going to start up here this time. It doesn't matter. The book wanted you to start somewhere else. I'm going to do a little curve, click, hold, and okay, so see how I get that weird jaggy? This is good. I'm glad I did this. Oh no, it's not smooth the way I like it. So I let go, Control Z, that takes me back. If I'm not getting the shape I want, what I always do is I just get rid of the direction. I just pull that direction line back to nothing as if I'm starting from the beginning. So I can just hold the Alt key down and click on the anchor point. And I don't know if you can see that little caret in the lower right corner of the pen, but that is what's telling you it's converting the anchor point. It's getting rid of any direction. And now I can click and drag and I can get that nice smooth curve. Whoops. There we go. I'm going to pull that out, holding Alt, pulling back the direction. Click, hold, and drag. Oops, don't like that. So I'm going to hold Alt to get rid of the anchor point. Here we go. And then I'm just going to close it. Okay. So I just zoomed out. You can see here I've got these two paths I created. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to combine the shapes. Let's see. I want to follow what the book is telling you to do it. Whoops. Okay, so now that I can see all the pieces, what you're going to do, click on the pen tool, is I want to come up here and I want to choose under this additional shape options, I want to choose merge shape components. And there you can see now I have the car outline is still Now it includes the tires, although this piece over here is totally jacked up. I got to fix that. Oh, I forgot to include that in my path. That's okay. No big deal. I can do that next. You have any questions so far, John? Not yet. Yeah. Good. Okay. So I missed this piece, but that's no big deal. I can go ahead and I can do one of two things. Let's see. This is not in the book. So let's see. Maybe I want to click the pen tool. Let's see if I can do this and combine shapes. And so I'm just going to go here, here, here. Doesn't matter, right? I just want that piece. And then come back into merge shape components. Okay, so I need to get this one. And that's okay. I'm going to show you. This is kind of a nice little defect. So, all right. Let's start fixing the path. So it's not totally perfect. So I'm going to kind of zoom in. All right. We're going to edit the path. All right. So there's two tools you can use. Excuse me. So we can use the direct selection tool. That's the white arrow. When I click on that tool, that works with paths. I can click on my path outline and that exposes all of the anchor points, right? Okay. And direction lines. So I can use that. I can actually use the direct selection tool. I can actually grab the path and I can pull it down. I can pull it by the anchor points, right? So I can kind of make it fit in. And then I can also use these to adjust. I can use the direct select to adjust how that path works, right? So that I can just kind of like sculpting it a little bit, right? And then sometimes these get a little lost, right? That's a little janky here. Okay, so then if I want, let's say I have too many anchor points, I can come into the pen tool and I can choose the add or delete. I use those a lot, or even the convert. So I'm just going to use delete. Whoops. Click on that, delete, and come on. There we go. We don't want this. We don't want this. Just getting rid of some stuff. Got a little too much. So right. So now that's pulled out a little bit. So now I'm going to come back to the direct select, right? And I'm going to work with these curves and just kind of get it in there, right? And you can use that. So the white arrow is the one I use a lot. Not so bad. What do you think, John? Right. Go up here while he's typing his answer. He's typing something. Pull this guy over here. Pull this guy. Pull this guy over here. Maybe this is too much. Maybe I don't want this one. So I might delete it. See what happens. Oh, my shape is getting all weird. I can come in here. I can pull these lines so I don't get these weird jaggies. Looks really good. I've never done it like so before. I couldn't do it. You're cracking me up. So John and anybody else watching this, this is actually the reason I don't use the freeform pen tool, because what happens is it puts in tons of anchor points, right? And if you remember, maybe back from the level 1 class, one of the things I try to emphasize is to get the smoothest path or smoothest curve possible, you want the fewest anchor points. So that's why I actually like to use the pen tool. I would have drawn this just using the pen tool. I would not have used the freeform pen tool. But you're learning, this is an exercise, so what's really nice is that you can, practice with these other tools. What I would do is make a select, that's what John's saying. I would make a selection first, then convert it depending on the complexity of the shape. Yeah. Oh, so you would probably use like, what, the lasso or a magic wand, something like that. He's thinking maybe. Let's see what he says. Dead air. He's typing. While he's typing, what John is saying, he likes to make a selection first. I do too. A lot of times I'll just draw with the selection tools and again, kind of do it the same way where I add and subtract to the shape. What's nice about the path is you can save the path and then you can convert it to a selection later on. So it's just another tool that allows you to refine it. Okay, I'm just going to do a little bit more just to kind of show you guys. So, okay, so this is kind of janky over here, but I'm going to ignore that. Okay, so I'm going to come back to the pen tool, and I'm just going to pull these anchor points up, adjust those direction lines, right? I don't like what's happening here. Too many direction lines. So I might, actually, let's do the convert anchor point. Let's watch what happens when we do that. So get rid of that, that makes it flat. Get rid of that, that makes it flat, right? Get rid of that, that makes it flat. Doesn't have that curve to it. So then I can pull these anchor points up and around. I don't like that. So I might convert these, right? And then I might even delete this one. There we go, right? And so I can get a little bit better curve here. Oops, click on that. There we go. Right, and we can just kind of get this nice smooth curve. I don't like this one. Whoops. There we go. What's John saying? Less points always makes a smoother shape. In fact, for the tires, I would have done those with a brush tool and then convert that. But if I could use the pen tool first, I would love to if it would save time. I actually think the pen tool does save time. The pen tool is really good to use if you have like really hard edges, because it's like cutting it out with a scissors, right? The brush tool, it's just different tools for different shapes. If it's a really defined shape with hard edges, the pen tool is nice, and the more you practice with it, the more control you would have with it. So like here, let me just, since it's just you and I, all right, I have this path here, right? I'm going to click off of it to deselect it. I'm going to just start a new path with this, right? This is how I would have drawn it. I would have clicked here. I'm not even going to zoom in. And you see how I'm pulling my first anchor point up here? Look at that. I'm going to do a anchor point here, anchor point here, anchor point here, right? 3 anchor points. I have maybe a little too much of the roof. I can see now. I know I'm changing direction, so I'm going to hold the Alt key and click right here to get rid of that. Click and drag to get a little bit of an anchor. Holding the Alt, pulling back. Right, holding the Alt key, getting rid of the direction line. Still not totally perfect. Getting rid of the direction lines each time. And I should technically be zoomed up, right? And I'm going to come here. I'm going to include the tires. Right? It's not totally perfect. Getting rid of direction line. Getting rid of direction line. Oops. Control Z. Alt. Click. Get rid of direction line. Boom. Boom. I'm going to be totally lazy. Right? I'm doing a lazy selection. Right? Alt. Get rid of the direction line. I'm just being lazy right now. Right? But look at that. I could, oh, get rid of Alt. I'm going to need to do that. Right? Totally not the shape of the mirror, but you get the point. Like, I could make the path like that. You have to be the perfect setting on the magnetic tool. It takes a lot of experience. Yes, you have to have the perfect settings on the magnetic tools too. It takes a lot of experience. It does. And it actually takes a lot of practice holding with the mouse. I've been using the pen tool for as long as I've been using Photoshop. I don't use it every day, but I'm super comfortable with the mouse and how to drag it and change the direction lines. And obviously if I was zoomed in, this would be a little bit better. I'm just trying to show you quick, but you can see, look how few anchor points I have. I have a much smoother shape, and then I could come in and I could edit that if I wanted to and refine it. So again, yes, you could start with a selection tool. You could use a path and turn it into a selection. I had a student one semester who wanted to use the magic wand to make every selection, and I was like, you can't use that. It's not really magic. You actually have to use different tools for different shapes. I would definitely, when I used to teach Illustrator, have you taken the Illustrator class, John? I think you mentioned you might have even used Illustrator in your discussion question, if I remember correctly. No, not yet, but I'm an expert with it. Yeah, so you know that's the pen tool is like the main tool of Illustrator. So what I always had students do is trace cartoon characters or coloring book pages. I think that's a really great way to learn how to use the pen tool. let's see. No, maybe he's typing something. Okay. All right. I've used it every day of my life for years on end. It's my greatest skill in life. That's awesome. But yet in Photoshop, you're still choosing to use selection tools instead of the path tool. Is that correct, John? Let's see what he's saying. Typing. All right, while he's typing, I'll come back to that. All right, so I have this path here. I'm not going to spend the whole time outlining this, but I will show you a quick little neat trick. I have the finished product here in this window, maybe, right? I'm going to go to Window, Arrange to Vertical, so you can actually see the two images side by side. And then what I can do is I can come over here. My computer's running slow now. I'm going to grab the Move tool, right? So I have actually a path here in the good one. I'm going to actually drag and drop it, and I can put it into this Photoshop document that I'm using. So if you didn't know, you can't drag between the two. I can close this, not save it. And now I have actually this good work path. This is the one I worked on later where I spent more time, and you can see it's super outlined. All right, going back to John, let's see what he says. I use a variety of things. Like today I use magnetic selection to cut out a crowd of people, but for some other things I use brush, other things wand, or the selective mask. To cut the car out in Illustrator with a pen tool, that would be easy for me. Yeah, totally. Okay, cool. All right, so we have the path here. I was kind of demonstrating the path tool and the vectors and what you're doing with that. And then what they're having you do is you're going to just go to Layer, Vector Mask. Yeah, Current Path. And then it masks out everything and it leaves the car behind. So you're just making a mask, just like we did with, layer masks. This is a vector mask because we used a vector tool to create the shape. All right. Since you've already completed the assignment, I think I'm going to go ahead and stop there. What does John say? I used to color comics for a living, so I had to be fast at tracing stuff. Then I made fonts and Illustrator. That made me fast with that, shaping letters for sure. Absolutely. And I bet you use a stylus, don't you, John? Are you using a stylus on your end? He's typing. He's typing. Yes, until it hurt my hand. Then I use the mouse till it hurts. Yeah, it does. The sore wrists, those and hands, those are real things. Absolutely. Okay, well, that's kind of all I wanted to demonstrate. Do you have it, John? Do you have any questions about the project that's due this week? I'm going to pull Canvas over so we can look at the project that is due. All right, so I've opened up the Portfolio Builder project. So you will notice in the textbook at the end of the chapter, practice, there's actually a design project that has just some client comments and art director comments, but it doesn't, I'm not telling you what to do. So you're going to create a movie poster this week. And actually, I'll go ahead and bring up the textbook so I can kind of read it. Portfolio Builder project. So just going through that, you're going to create You're actually doing it from the chapter 1, Sarah. Go to the right one. Sorry. This is the Above and Beyond, the Airborne. So you're actually creating a stylized poster. You have some data files that are given to you, some text files. You're creating a poster for a movie that's titled Above and Beyond. It's a fictionalized story about, it will focus on the men who led the first U.S. Airborne Unit, which suffered more than 2,000 casualties in the European theater of World War II. They don't have any images in mind, but they definitely want you to reflect the time period. The 501st Parachute Infantry was trained to parachute into battle. So you should probably incorporate some kind of parachute image. And then it goes on to talk about how it's a joint venture between Sun and Tantamount. So you have two logos for the movie, and not yet rated. And then they want you to create the ad big enough to fit on an 8.5 by 11. And so what you're going to do is you want to make sure that you read the additional instructions I've given you as well. And so I'm actually trying to help you guys out. I'm actually telling you what I want the trim, the bleed, and the live area set at. These are things that you learned in the first chapter last week. The trim should be 8.5 by 11 because that's what you're going to size it to, but your bleed area should be 1/8 of an inch past that on all four sides. And so in the world of printing, when you're going to cut something out, you want to be able to pull images and color and part of your design past the edge of the paper. So when the paper is cut, you get that nice edge that is clean and all the color goes to the edge versus like having like kind of a white border. You don't want that. So that's what that bleed area is. And then the live area is actually inside the trim where maybe you're going to place, your text won't go past that because you don't want any text or anything to be cut off unless of course that was part of your design. John says, no, not yet. Been working on it already. So far, so good. All right. So definitely make sure you always read the additional requirements I give you for the projects. And so in this case, I'm helping you out by telling you what dimensions I want. And then I want you to include a layer comp. You're actually going to do this pretty much for every assignment. So if you don't remember how to do layer comps, I do have a link here. But when you are ready, set, and done, I want you to create at least one layer comp that shows me the final design, because that's the one I'm going to look at first. And then I'm going to turn off all your layers and check everything. And then I turn that layer comp back on so I can see what the final composition is like. Okay, so that's how you're going to tell me this is what I expect the final composition to look like. And then you're going to turn in the PSD file, and this is the same information in every assignment, but just remember if your file is more than 500 megabytes, you can upload it to your Google Drive. And then there is another part to this assignment where you're actually going to explain what you did. So this is a 200 level capstone based course. So explaining your designs is something that you are going to have to do when you go out there into the world. John, you're probably already doing this now for your job, but you do have to explain things and maybe even justify why you did what you did going back to the client. So it's important for everybody to be able to communicate their ideas back. And then you'll see there's a grading rubric. I have a grading rubric with everything I grade, so definitely make sure you check that out so that you're earning max points. And obviously let me know if you have any questions or if something looks weird or doesn't make sense. Or I update this course every semester, but I'm a human being. I do make mistakes. I might have errors. I might have something, you might see something that doesn't make any sense because I changed it. Maybe I didn't catch that change. And then with all of the assignments, you'll see there is an above and beyond section, which is not the same as this project. I know this project is called Above and Beyond, but this is actually what I actually have a grading section for every big project called Above and Beyond, which is where you tell other things you did beyond the basic requirements. For example, creating a second layer comp would be considered above and beyond. Maybe rearranging the text, the picture, some things that you could give me a different version of that final product. That would be considered above and beyond, right? Let's see. You have to have at least one parachute image. Maybe you have more than one parachute, or maybe you did use additional images or additional tools, additional techniques. You need to tell that to me. And where I'm going to know that is when you go to the next assignment. I don't want to stop sharing my screen, so I'm going to click next. Right? And this is that portion where you're going to justify. I'm just going to do a preview. It looks like a quiz. It's not a quiz. It's just the way that I build it into the course. So you can go in and out of this as much as you want until you turn it in. But there will always be two questions. The first one is just give me an explanation behind your design process. So, I sat down, I was thinking about it, I looked up these things on Google, I watched this movie, I talked to my boyfriend, girlfriend, dog, whatever. Like, how were you inspired to come up with the design you did? I'm not looking for paragraphs and paragraphs, just something very short and succinct, but definitely communicate your ideas clearly. And then down here in the second question, you're just going to tell me what you did. Definitely you want to include the above and beyond. I don't need to know every single keystroke. Okay, or click, but just things that you think, additional information, like I masked this, I used the pen tool, I created these 5 work paths, I created these, alpha channels, I used these filters, because at this level of the class, you might be doing things that I would never know. You might have some images and combine them in another Photoshop file, merge them and brought them into this main file, but I would never know that work you did unless you explain it to me. So that's what I'm looking for. I mean, I've had students just give me a bullet list, and I've had students write 15 paragraphs. Something in the middle, not 15 paragraphs. I don't need that. I mean, that's awesome. If you want to write that, you go for it. I would never say don't do that, but sometimes, you know, doing it succinctly helps me. Also, you can think about the summaries you put in here are what you would use if you were to conclude these designs in your portfolio. All right, so I'm the only one talking. That was a lot of talking. So John, do you have any other questions about the project that you're working on and the written portion that goes with it? He's typing. He's typing. Go back to Photoshop. This is a more interesting image to look at. Not yet. I'm doing good so far. I like how it's going so far. Awesome. Very good. Where are you finding your images? Do you want to share that? If not, it's okay. He's typing. He's typing. I'm going to go back to this screen here. All right. He's still typing. He's still typing. Nope, maybe. Well, while he's typing, I probably should have kept that up, but in Canvas, you will see that I gave you links to where you can find some images. So there's some free websites out there, Unsplash, Pixabay, Pexels. And then there's also, if you took the level 1 class from me, you have access to Art Store, which is a database of high quality images that is accessible through the library link. And so you can find some really cool stuff there if you spend a little time searching. So different things that are unique, maybe looking for a specific era. I found a lot of really, really interesting pieces that you could use to composite. John says, the sources you suggest, Google Images with the tools we learned from last semester, where you search for usage rights with modification for non-commercial use. Okay. I went to Art Store today, but I didn't find anything. Yeah, you know, it depends on what you're looking for, really. And again, you know, let's see, what else is he typing? Yeah, you know, who knows? Maybe if you're looking for background imagery, I mean, you could find an image and cut out a piece of it and use it in the final compilation. So our store is definitely another resource for you guys. It's free and it's one of the databases through our library. So that's all I have for today, what I wanted to go through. We're at the 3 o'clock, so that's about 45 minutes long. If you don't have any other questions, John, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. Stop recording, but I will stay online for another 15 minutes in case anybody pops in and has questions. Yeah, it had certain things, I guess. I typed in parachute, it had like old weird diagrams of parachutes from the 1700s. Right. So yeah, I mean, maybe you didn't find that kind of parachute, but you know, who knows? Maybe you'd find a tank, or maybe you'd find people, or maybe you'd find soldiers, you know, other imagery that is related to the era that you're looking for. And they are high res. Yes, they are high res. Absolutely. That's what's really nice about it. That's useful then. Yes, it is. Absolutely. So awesome. Well, that's all I have for today. John, did you have any other questions for me or comments? No, thanks. Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and sign off. I'm just going to stop the recording at this point, but I'll hang around for 15 minutes. I'm going to compile the videos and I'll send out an email probably in a couple of hours with links to this information. So everybody else, if they want to get online and watch it, they can. Awesome. Thank you for joining, John. It's always nice when I have somebody to talk to when I do these online learning sessions. Absolutely. And I look forward to next week. I don't even know what I'm going to do next week, but I can't even remember what the project is. So Me too. Yay! Okay, awesome. All right, well, you have a good rest of your day, John, and definitely reach out when you have questions. I'm looking forward to your final project. I'm looking forward to all of your final projects. Thanks. Okay, cool.